It's late. The kind of late where silence feels alive. You're sitting there, maybe staring at your phone, maybe thinking about her, and something inside you whispers that her words don't match her eyes. You try to brush it off. Tell yourself you're overthinking. But deep down, you know it. That quiet discomfort that creeps in when a woman says, "I'm fine," and her body screams the opposite. That's the moment when your instincts start talking, but you've been taught to silence them. Society told you not to read too deep, to trust words, not energy, to ignore the subtle, the invisible. But here's the truth. Her body speaks before her lips ever move. Every time, you can't fake what your nervous system reveals. She can rehearse her lines, she can shape her sentences, but she can't control the flicker in her pupils, the stillness in her shoulders, or the way her voice tightens when she lies. That's not poetry, that's psychology. The body always betrays the mask. It's the oldest language in the world, older than speech, older than lies. And if you learn to see it, not through paranoia, but through presence, you'll realize how much of the world has been speaking to you in silence all along. Look back. Every time she leaned in just a little closer without even realizing it, that was attraction. Every time her feet pointed away mid-conversation, that was disconnection. Every time her tone flattened, but her smile stayed, that was compliance, not warmth. The truth isn't in what she says. It's in what her body does when she stops thinking. But most men don't see it. They're too busy chasing words. They analyze texts. They decode emojis. They look for meaning in fragments of attention. But words are crafted. Postures aren't. A woman's body language is the purest version of her truth, and most men never learn to listen. Because listening requires silence, stillness, awareness. It's not about staring, it's about feeling, catching those micro moments when her guard drops, when her real self surfaces for half a second before retreating behind the mask again. That's the paradox of human connection. We lie constantly, yet our bodies are incapable of deceit. And every interaction is a quiet war between what we say and what we actually mean. You feel that tension every time someone tells you one thing, but feels like another. That's not paranoia, that's intuition. You just forgot how to trust it. Let me explain why this matters. Because the truth is, her body isn't just showing you attraction or rejection. It's showing you patterns, the whole psychological blueprint of who she is. The way she breathes when she's anxious. The way her eyes scan when she's hiding something. The way she moves closer when she feels safe or flinches when she doesn't. This isn't random. This is the subconscious in motion. Watch carefully, and you'll see the unspoken cycle, the subtle power plays, the rhythm of interest and withdrawal. Her eyes glance sideways when she's calculating. Her lips tighten when she's judging. Her hair touch, that nervous micro-laugh. All are signals of emotional navigation. But not all signals mean what you think. She might lean closer not because she's interested, but because she's trying to maintain control. She might look away not because she's bored, but because she's overwhelmed by her own attraction. Every gesture has layers, and your job isn't to decode it like a detective. It's to sense it like a man who's awake. When you're attuned, the world slows down. The noise fades. You start noticing the smallest shifts, a fraction of a second when her pupils dilate, when her voice trembles just slightly, when she breathes out slower. You don't need to memorize every sign. You just need to be present. Most people aren't. Most men are so disconnected from their own bodies that they can't read another's. They live in their heads, overthinking, doubting, rationalizing, and that kills intuition. You can't read her truth if you've forgotten your own. So start there. Watch yourself first. The way your chest tightens when something feels off. The way your gut reacts when she's pretending. That tension in your neck, it's not random. It's your subconscious screaming what your logic refuses to admit. You know when she's losing interest. You know when she's testing you. You know when she's no longer emotionally present because something inside you goes cold. You've just been taught to ignore that feeling. Men lose their edge when they stop trusting what they feel. That's when they start chasing validation, trying to earn clarity through words when clarity was already there in the silence, in the pause, in the energy between words. That's where the truth lives. And the moment you start reading it, you can't unsee it. The body doesn't lie. It never has. Imagine this. She's sitting across from you at dinner, smiling, saying all the right things. Her tone is soft, her words kind, but her torso is angled slightly away. Her arm crosses her body. Her eyes drift more than they meet. You feel it, that quiet distance. It's not rejection, it's disconnection. She's present, but her body isn't invested. And once you see that, you stop hearing what she says and start hearing what she means. That's when everything changes. Because suddenly you realize attraction, love, interest, desire, they're not verbal. They're biological. You can't convince someone to feel what their body has already decided not to. And you can't hide attraction when the body's already given away. The truth always leaks through the physical. Always. And yet, here's the dark side. The same awareness that frees you can also haunt you. Once you learn to read people like this, you start seeing through everyone. You notice the fake smiles, the polite lies, the conversations that sound warm but feel cold. You realize how few people actually mean what they say. And it changes you. It hardens you, but it also sharpens you. You become quieter, but more precise. Detached, but perceptive. That's the price of awareness. You stop being fooled, but you also stop being comforted by illusions. Because now, every interaction feels like an X-ray. You see beneath the surface. You see attraction before it's confessed, resentment before it's spoken, and disinterest long before it's admitted. You stop arguing with words because you already know. You just know. And that's both your weapon and your burden. You start noticing it everywhere, in friends, in strangers, in yourself. The body reveals the things we're too afraid to say. The tension in someone's jaw when they're holding back anger. The forced laugh that doesn't reach their eyes. The subtle recoil when a boundary's crossed. Once you see it, it's impossible not to. It's like taking the red pill of human interaction. The illusion cracks, and you're left with the raw mechanics of emotion and survival. A woman's body, in particular, is a map of her comfort, her attraction, her fear, and her strategy. It's the way she guards her neck when she doesn't trust you or exposes it when she feels safe. The way she mirrors your movements unconsciously when she's aligned with you. The way her lips part slightly when she's curious or press together when she's restraining herself. None of it is random. It's a symphony of impulses and instincts, every note revealing what her words are trying to hide. But most men misinterpret these signals because they're desperate for meaning instead of understanding. They want signs of attraction so badly that they project them where none exist. They see what they want to see, not what's there. True observation requires emptiness. You can't read her if your ego is screaming for validation. You have to become still, detached, like a mirror. When you stop needing, you start seeing. Here's the truth. Her body isn't just expressing emotion. It's communicating power. Every look, every movement, every distance she creates is a way of navigating control. Because relationships, whether we admit it or not, are power dynamics cloaked in tenderness. And the ones who control perception control connection. A glance held a second too long. A pause before answering. The subtle delay in responding to your message. None of these are mistakes. They're psychological choreography, sometimes conscious, sometimes not. Let me explain. When a woman likes you, her body softens. Her posture opens. She leans in, not because she chooses to, but because her nervous system seeks proximity. But when she's testing you, her body becomes deliberate, precise, calculating. She withdraws slightly, crosses a leg, looks away, not out of disinterest, but to measure your response. She wants to feel your composure, your stillness, your ability to remain unmoved. Because deep down, she's not testing your status, she's testing your center. And that's where most men fail. They react. They chase. They try to fix what was never broken. They panic at silence, interpret distance as rejection, and talk themselves out of the very magnetism that attracted her in the first place. The truth is, silence is attraction. Distance is communication. You're just not fluent in that language yet. When she leans back, you don't chase. You breathe. When her tone goes cold, you don't beg warmth. You match her stillness. Because the moment you start explaining yourself, you've already lost. The body responds to energy, not logic. The man who stays grounded in the face of emotional chaos triggers a deeper instinct in her, safety. Not comfort, but respect. There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't flinch. His presence says, I see through you, and I'm still here. Not desperate, not detached, just aware. That kind of awareness is rare because it can't be faked. You can't imitate stillness. Your body gives you away. If you're anxious, she feels it. If you're insecure, she senses it. The body doesn't listen to words, it listens to rhythm. This is why attraction isn't logical, it's somatic. It happens below consciousness. You felt it yourself. When you meet someone and something in your chest tightens, or your breath changes, or your focus narrows. That's your body speaking before your mind catches up. The same thing happens to her. You don't create attraction with words. You amplify what the body already knows. But here's the dark side. Once you see the truth behind body language, you start to see manipulation too. You see how charm can be weaponized, how affection can be timed, how attention can be given and withdrawn like currency. You start recognizing when someone's gestures aren't spontaneous, they're strategic. When touch is not connection, but control. When proximity is not warmth, but power. And it makes you wonder, how much of what we call love is actually a psychological negotiation? How much of our desire is real, and how much is performance? Because every social interaction, every relationship, every look across a room, it's all communication layered in intent. Some conscious, some primal. The human body is an instrument of truth, but it can also be trained to deceive. The best manipulators aren't those who lie. They're the ones whose bodies believe the lie. That's why emotional awareness isn't about decoding others. It's about staying aligned with your own nervous system. If you stay grounded, their performance loses power. Because while they're acting, you're observing. Stillness becomes your weapon. Awareness becomes your armor. There's a reason most people are uncomfortable with silence. Silence exposes the truth. In the quiet, every fidget, every micro-expression, every shift becomes deafening. Silence is where masks fall apart. That's why most conversations are full of noise. People use words to hide what their bodies are screaming. And the more still you become, the louder their truth sounds. You begin to notice her contradictions. When her voice says, I'm okay, but her breath quickens. When she says, I trust you, but her eyes dart sideways. When she smiles, but her shoulders rise in defense. You don't need to call it out. You just need to see it. Seeing is enough. Awareness itself changes the dynamic, because once you see truth, you no longer participate in illusion. Most men chase love. Few learn to read it. Because love isn't spoken, it's sensed. It's in the way her tone drops when she feels safe. The way her body relaxes when you walk in. The way she unconsciously mirrors your pace when she feels connected. You can't force that. You can only recognize it. And recognition is power. Because the moment you see what's real, you stop chasing what's not. There comes a point where you stop asking questions and you just start watching. The world slows down. People move differently when you're truly present. You start to see how anxiety hides behind laughter, how pride disguises itself as detachment, how love sometimes looks like fear. You begin to realize that every gesture, every breath, every pause is a confession. And once you start hearing those confessions, the noise of everyday life starts to sound fake. Words lose their weight. Only movement remains real. You start noticing that most people are acting, not maliciously, but habitually, pretending to be confident, pretending to be kind, pretending to be whole. They don't even realize they're doing it. Their bodies do, though. The body never pretends. It leaks the truth through tension, through stillness, through avoidance. You can see who's broken, who's scared, who's pretending not to care. And that vision changes you. There's a certain loneliness that comes with awareness. You can't unsee deception once you've learned its patterns. You start feeling detached, not because you want to be, but because the surface world feels shallow now. You crave honesty, but you realize that most honesty isn't spoken, it's shown. You crave connection, but only when it's real, and real is rare. You stop trying to convince people to see you. You just let your presence speak. Because when a man becomes truly self-aware, his silence carries weight. He doesn't need to talk much. His energy speaks louder than his words. And people feel it. She feels it. When you walk into a room, her body responds before her mind does. She doesn't know why, but something about your stillness, your steadiness, your lack of performance, it draws her in. That's not charisma. That's coherence. Coherence is when your words, your body, your intent all move as one. That's the essence of masculine power. The world listens to aligned men because they don't just speak truth, they embody it. And women, by nature, are drawn to that frequency, not to dominance, not to control, but to presence. Here's the irony. The more you understand body language, the less you need to analyze it. At first, you study it. You notice every sign, every glance, every angle. But eventually, you move beyond analysis. You start feeling people instead of decoding them. You don't look for meaning, you receive it. You read the space between words. You trust your nervous system again. You stop doubting the instinct that's been there since you were born. Because the truth is, reading her isn't about control, it's about connection. You're not decoding her to gain advantage. You're seeing her to understand, to honor reality instead of running from it, to stop living in illusions of maybe and what if, and start living in the clarity of what is. And clarity, while cold, is liberation. The body language you read in others, that's the same truth you've been hiding from yourself. The way your shoulders tighten when you lie. The way your breath shortens when you betray your own boundaries. The way your eyes drift when you say it's fine, but it isn't. The body speaks the same language in all of us. It's universal. You don't learn it. You remember it. That's the awakening. When you finally stop trying to understand others and start observing yourself with the same depth, you begin to notice when your own posture shrinks in doubt, when your voice loses conviction, when your gestures become too rehearsed. And every time you catch yourself, something shifts. You start living more honestly. You speak less, but mean more. You move slower, but every motion has intention. You stop trying to impress. You begin to express. That's when life feels cinematic again. Not because you're performing, but because you're present. Every moment becomes detailed. The sound of her breath when she's near, the stillness between words, the quiet weight of being seen. You no longer chase validation because you've built something stronger, awareness. And awareness is the purest form of power. Not dominance, not manipulation. Power. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that doesn't rise or fall depending on how she feels about you. The kind that simply is. There's a story your ancestors carried without ever writing it down. They read the world through silence, through instinct, through the rhythm of human nature. You're not different from them. You just forgot. Civilization taught you to overthink what evolution already perfected. But deep inside you, that ancient awareness still lives, the part of you that sees before you understand. When you trust that, when you stop needing words to validate what you already sense, your world transforms. You stop chasing clarity in conversation because you find it in energy. You stop demanding truth from others because you can see it written all over them. And that calm, grounded awareness, it terrifies people because you can't manipulate someone who listens to more than words. She'll feel it too. When she talks to you, she'll realize you're not responding to her performance. You're responding to her essence. You're not chasing her highs or lows. You're observing both. And that observation makes her feel seen in a way that no compliment ever could. Because real presence isn't about saying the right thing. It's about witnessing the truth without flinching. That's the rarest kind of man. The one who doesn't need to control, who doesn't need to chase. The one who sees everything and stays calm. That calmness isn't apathy, it's strength. It's the stillness of a man who knows what's real. Her body language will always reveal what words cannot. Not because she's trying to tell you something, but because she can't help it. It's nature's honesty, the only kind that remains when all masks fall away. And the more you live in alignment with that honesty, the more peace you find. Because you stop negotiating with illusion. You stop fighting to be understood by people who only communicate in lies. You just see, you understand, and you move accordingly. That's what awareness gives you. Not control, not superiority, but clarity. The clarity to walk away when the energy shifts. The clarity to stay when it's real. The clarity to know that silence speaks louder than any confession. And one day, you'll look at someone, maybe her, maybe someone new, and you'll realize you don't need to ask how she feels. You'll already know. Her eyes will say it. Her breath will say it. Her stillness will say it. Because the body never lies. It never needed to,